This is the story of Kurt Cobain and William Burroughs and the collaboration they worked on. The audio piece titled The Priest They Called Him. But just before we get into that, we'll talk about William S. Burroughs briefly. He was an American author, an artist. He was born in 1914, was famous for writing several novels and short stories. He is perhaps best known for one of his earlier novels, Naked Lunch, that was released in 1959, and it was turned into a movie many years later in 1991. It is also said by many that Burroughs actually killed his second wife in a William Tell type stunt, and he ended up shooting her. Burroughs would change his story later, telling investigators that he had been showing his pistol to his friends when it fell and hit the table, firing a bullet that accidentally killed his wife, so you believe what you will. Burroughs would receive a 2-year suspended sentence. But now we fast forward all the way to November of 1992, and this is where Cobain and Burroughs would cross paths. Cobain and Burroughs shared many similarities. They were both associated with drug use, but more importantly, both were highly creative people. Kurt with his music, Burroughs with his writing, and they were both artists too, both visual artists. Burroughs and Cobain would paint and create art.
In some cases, the blast of a shotgun producing an explosion of color, either hitting a tube of paint or a can of spray paint, which produces an explosion of color across the surface.
So it was in around September of 1992, right where Nirvana were at the height of their fame. This is the time when William Burroughs recorded his audio of The Priest They Called Him. Cobain had always admired the work of Burroughs, and he had even been an influence on his songwriting. And with Cobain wanting to collaborate with Burroughs in some way, decided to add a guitar part over Burroughs' spoken word. Now, the two didn't actually do this together in the same studio. It was done from a distance. Cobain had received Burroughs' audio reading and actually used the DAT machine of Dave Grohl's friend Barrett Jones, played back the audio and recorded his guitar over it.
It was a long-distance recording. He had recorded his vocals, and then a few weeks later, at the last minute, I decided to record my guitar parts. Yeah, I think of it as, because it's based on his story and I'm just doing an accompaniment,
And this is where we get the official release of the recording. Came out in July of 1993, and if you want to check it out, it's very easy to find here on YouTube. Several videos of it floating around, I believe. And so understandably, Kurt was pretty stoked and excited to have worked with Burroughs on this project. He actually asked Burroughs to be a part of Nirvana's Heart-Shaped Box music video, and in fact drafted this letter asking Burroughs to take part in it. It is said the video would have been different from the one we know had Burroughs accepted the offer. An alternate video would have been made. However, others will say that Burroughs was set to play the old man in the video, the one with the Santa hat on who climbs across. Cobain said in his letter, who actually still hadn't met Burroughs at this point, as we said that recording was done from a distance. The letter reads in part, "It's a bit odd writing someone whom I've never met, but with whom I've already recorded a record. I really enjoyed the opportunity to do the record. It's a great honor to be pictured alongside you on the back cover." Cobain then goes on to ask Burroughs if he would want to join his band Nirvana for the Heart-Shaped Box video. So Kurt obviously had a lot of respect for this guy and really wanted to work with him, saying, "Most importantly, I wanted you to know that this request is not based on a desire to exploit you in any way, and as a fan and student of your work, I would cherish the opportunity to work directly with you." So Kurt really wanted this to happen, but in the end, Burroughs politely declined. However, following this, the two would eventually have a meetup. Now, this took place in Lawrence, Kansas in October of 1993. This was about a year after Cobain had recorded his guitar part for The Priest They Called Him.
someone that I've admired all my life, you know?
Yeah.
To meet him was just a big thrill. I was really nervous the whole time. It was kind of uncomfortable in a way. I mean, although he was really accommodative and everything and nice.
Yeah.
He was great. He
probably
took me over
enjoyed
to
that.
his house, which is like 2 blocks away, this other house where he does most of his art.
Yeah.
Since amazing art, I didn't realize how much of an accomplished artist he was, you know?
Meeting Burroughs was a real big deal for Kurt. It was something he never thought would happen. They chatted for several hours, but Burroughs later claimed the subject of drugs didn't come up. As Kurt drove away, Burroughs remarked to his assistant, "There's something wrong with that boy. He frowns for no good reason." Here, William Burroughs describes the meeting in his own words. "I waited and Kurt got out with another man. Cobain was very shy, very polite, and obviously enjoyed the fact that I wasn't awestruck at meeting him. There was something about him, fragile and engagingly lost. He smoked cigarettes but didn't drink. There were no drugs. I never showed him my gun collection." The two also exchanged presents at their meeting. Burroughs gave Kurt a painting, while Cobain gave Burroughs a Lead Belly biography that he had signed. So pretty cool that Kurt ended up meeting his hero in the end. Now, it's a pretty sad note we end on here. It's kinda sad to say and kinda weird to think of that in 4 years after their meeting, both of these guys would be gone. Cobain passed away, of course, only 6 months after this meeting with Burroughs. And Burroughs himself died just 4 years later in 1997. He was 83 years old. And that was from complications from a heart attack. So I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks heaps for checking out the video. Have your say in the comments section on what you think about the Cobain-Burroughs collaboration. Remember, drop a like down below, sub to the channel if you haven't already. We'll catch you next time.